Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Doc Hunsley, and I'm the Executive Director and Founder of SOAR Special Needs. And it's my honor today to be talking to you about starting a special needs ministry in any size church. And I just want to take a minute and thank Faith Inclusion Networks for allowing me to share this very important subject with you. And so excited to share this with you. We are passionate about helping churches do disability ministry, and we offer free consultations as well. So I'll share our info, but we would love to have you reach out where we can come alongside you in developing that as well for you. So with that, let me go ahead and share my screen with you, and we'll dive right into this talk. Like I said, we are going to be starting a special needs ministry in any size church. And as I said, I'm Doc Hunsley with SOAR Special Needs. SOAR is based in Overland Park, Lenexa, Kansas. SOAR stands for Special Opportunities, Abilities, and Relationships. And we transform lives of special families and empower them to soar in their local and faith communities. But one of the key things that we do is come alongside churches and assist them in developing disability ministry or taking what they already have to the next level. And we offer free 1-hour consult to anyone with that, and simply can reach out to us through our website, soarspecialneeds.org, or contacting me at doc@soarspecialneeds.org. So a little bit about myself. They call me Doc because I'm actually a pediatrician. I was a pediatric ER doctor. I got sick taking care of my patients, almost died, spent quite a while in the intensive care unit where they figured out the top 4 diagnoses on my chart. Each one by itself had a 0.01 survival rate. Almost died, should have died, and went through 9 months of rehab because I lost 75 pounds of muscle mass. Came back after that and found out that I ended up getting sick again, back in the hospital, almost died. And I'm the only known person in the world where the main muscle allows you to breathe is the diaphragm. And that is half of that is paralyzed. As you can tell, I'm a little raspy right now. I just went through an upper respiratory infection, and I'm still trying to get over that. It's been 3 weeks plus, and I'm still coughing and hacking. So please bear with me through this talk. Shortly after that, though, my second son, Mark, who you see here, was born, also known as Bubba. Mark is my inspiration. At 8 months old, he had his first seizure, lasted over 4 hours. By the time he was 18 months, we got his diagnosis of Dravet syndrome, a very rare genetic seizure disorder. And then by the time he was 2, got the diagnosis of autism. So I went from being a pediatric ER doctor, emergency room, working in the ER with pediatric patients, to being a parent of a child with special needs. My wife's also a pediatrician. And so we took care of a lot of kids with special needs, but all of a sudden we became a parent of a child with special needs. It was the first time in our life we actually got it. We understood just how difficult it is to be a parent. It's 24/7, 365. And then fast forward 12 years ago now, my son was cured of all that when he was born into heaven at the age of 5.5. And 10 months after that was when SOAR was launched. And I do this now full time. We're now an independent nonprofit. I initially was a disability pastor for 8 years, started a ministry with 3 individuals and grew it to over 800 individuals. So definitely have the experience with that. So let's get into why this is important. Why is it important to have a special needs ministry? Well, first off, 90% of individuals with special needs and their families do not attend church. It is actually the largest unmet people group in the United States today. And there's 3 main reasons why they won't attend. First concern is that the families are concerned the staff and the volunteers at the church aren't adequately trained to take care of their child. And they're largely true on that. Second is they know what a burden their child is, and they don't want to be a burden to the church. And then the third one is, and this is the one that breaks my heart, they've been asked to leave the church too many times before, and they just cannot bear to ask to be leave again. And so we've got to be aware of that and be mindful of that. In fact, today, Only 11% of churches in the United States welcome families with disabilities. That's 11%. 89% of churches turn people away. So it's our job to welcome these people. It's a mandate in Luke 14, which we'll get to in a minute. So let's talk about some of the statistics. Currently, it's 1 out of every 6 children in the United States have a diagnosis of special needs. That number is thought to be going up to 1 out of every 4 or 1 out of every 5 this year. Currently, 1 out of every 5 adults in the United States are affected by some form of disability. In fact, today, the largest minority group in the United States are individuals with disabilities. It makes up 26% of the population, and nobody's talking about it. Autism accounts for 1 out of every 44 births right now. And the divorce rate for families with disabilities is estimated to be at 90%. If they have medical issues, it jumps to 95%. Why? It's because the stress of parenting a child with special needs is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, incredibly stressful job without ever being able to take a break. Now, the other important thing to remember are hidden disabilities. For every person that you've seen who looks disabled, you've seen at least 4 more who are disabled, but they don't look it. That includes psychiatric, mental health diagnoses, traumatic brain injury, epilepsy, ADD, and learning disabilities, plus many, many more. So now, if you've got a children's ministry of more than 5 individuals or a church of more than 5 individuals, you've got people with disabilities in your church, and they may just not be saying that because they don't want to be turned away. Let's see what the Bible has to say about disabilities. First off, if you look at Jesus' time here on earth, 75% of Jesus' miracles were done on those with disabilities. Jesus really was the very first special needs pastor. Every individual with disability is created in the image and likeness of God. Let's look at Luke 14, verses 12 through 14. This is one of my favorite passages with this. And it says, "Then he also said to him who invited him, when you give a dinner or a supper, do not ask your friends, your brothers, your relatives, nor rich neighbors, lest they also invite you back and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you shall be repaid at the resurrection of the just." You see, this is a biblical command to bring those with disabilities into the church. Why? Because the church needs those with disabilities just as much as those with disabilities need the church. And it says the whole reason is you will be blessed. Your church will be blessed for doing this. And it's a great model of inclusion. So if your church really wants to be more like Jesus, you will welcome families with disabilities. So what is a special needs ministry? Well, it exists to impart the word of God in the hearts of all individuals in an engaging and understandable manner, and to teach them to love, to know, and to honor God. So the church needs to be a place of refuge for families with special needs, where the parents know that their child is loved on. Let me say that again. The church needs to be a place of refuge for our families, where they know their child is being loved on and they're being taught the love of Jesus. So the other thing to remember is a definition of a special needs ministry, when it comes to ministry, means it's any need of a family member may have that requires some forethought in order to ensure that the family's church experience is meaningful and safe. So that could include severe allergies or medical issues or cognitive differences. The important thing to remember is a special needs ministry is actually a ministry to the entire family and not just the individual with special needs. Now, with a special needs ministry, there should be 3 goals. First, an obvious one is we want to open the door to share the gospel with families affected by special needs and introduce them to a personal relationship with God. Second, we want to integrate them into the life of the church and give them opportunities to actively serve God. And then third, we want to enable the church to serve as a witness to the community by meeting the spiritual, physical, and social needs of the families affected by special needs. They definitely can learn to accept Christ as a personal savior and walk through baptism. This is one of my favorite pictures. Caleb came up out of the water and yelled touchdown, and the entire church erupted in cheers. He definitely knew what he was doing. He said, touchdown for Jesus. So let's get into the bread and butter. How do you start a special needs ministry? Well, you start small. You just basically start with what you have. Meet your current needs before you even worry about adding other areas of ministry. If you currently have just a couple of individuals with special needs, focus on meeting their needs effectively before you add more individuals. You might want to survey your church to see what the current needs are. Second, you want to designate a special needs ministry champion. This person helps form the vision as the major cheerleader for the ministry. This might be you. This person doesn't need to be on staff, but they can be a volunteer, and it can even be a parent. So now let's talk about actually doing the ministry. Different setups. You can have inclusion, segregation, or integration. And there, I should have said there is a handout for this that you can get, and if you don't see it, please email me. I'm happy to send that to you. So first is inclusion, and that is where you include the individual in a typical class with a buddy or an aide or one-on-one person to help them. They could possibly be by themselves as well. Inclusive classrooms are places where all students are vital members of the classroom, and they feel connected to their peers and have access to a meaningful general education curriculum, but they may need additional support to succeed. The second type is segregation, a self-contained classroom. Here now is having a class designed specifically for children or individuals with special needs. You don't have peers in this class. This environment is best suited for those individuals who do not learn well in or benefit from a typical classroom. And then lastly is a combination, an integration environment, which is a mixture of the two. You can utilize a portion of the time where they're all together with everyone with inclusion, and then have self-contained classrooms. This works great in a student ministry setting, and I'd be happy to go more with that at a later point. Now let's talk curriculum real fast. And again, this is just all super high level as we're going through this. Do you need a general curriculum or a special needs curriculum? A general curriculum, many ministries use just a general children's ministry curriculum, especially if you have an inclusive classroom. The third grade level of curriculum is effective for these individuals, and it's even effective for middle, elementary through adults as well. You can use a preschool curriculum for your preschool through early elementary. It's also possible for you to actually edit your curriculum to meet your needs, simplify, repeat things, adjust, accommodate, or modify what you have. Now, there is special needs curriculum out there that you can do. There's not a lot, but more and more is coming out. One of my favorites out there is the first one you see here, and that's Ability Ministry. It's phenomenal. It's written for teens and adults, and they also have some for children now. They usually have Bible verse in sign language. It's digital and super easy to use. Lifeway Access is excellent. However, it's written more for adults, 6th grade and up. Heart Shaper is by standard. It has a special needs friendly symbol in each lesson to help you know what's geared for individuals' special needs, and that's geared for individuals ages 1 through 12. So let's talk now about a sensory space. Do you need a sensory space? How do you make a sensory space? Sensory space is helpful, but it's not a requirement. It is simply an environment where individuals who need a break from typical sensory input or need sensory input not found in a typical classroom can have their sensory needs met so that they can continue to learn about Jesus. So what could it be? It could be a bag or a box in a classroom. It could be a corner in a classroom with a tent or a chair, a little pop-up tent. It could be a board, even a portable board that you can move around. You can see here a swing. You could also, this is a board that I made, a sensory board that I had a volunteer make for me. That whole thing cost me $75. If I went out and purchased it online, it would have cost over $30,000. And that's been used by all ages. I've had it used from 1-year-old to 75-year-old, and it's been going 12 years strong now. But there's many other things for sensory boards. The middle one here is a portable board. It's basically just a whiteboard that's magnetic that you can put things on and roll it. It's great for if you're in a portable room. So it's just what you can do to help meet one's needs. Maybe a bubble tube, all kinds of different things. Do what is right for you. Now let's talk about items for your sensory space. Well, first you're going to need some cognitive toys, some cause and effect things, some musical toys, maybe a computer, some puzzles, things like that. But you also want sensory toys, massagers, cush toys, cush balls, light up toys. But then you'll need some fine motor toys, puzzles and blocks and Legos. And then you'll also want vestibular and proprioception input. So swings and trampolines, a rocking chair. These are all great things that can really help one out. But don't forget things for social interaction, toys that 2 or more people can play, games and things like that. Fidgets are wonderful for them to have too. Some of the best fidget toys are McDonald's Happy Meal toys, and you can simply get those donated from your families. Headphones and earplugs are essential. They're great for individuals sensitive to noise and input. It allows them to remain with their peers where otherwise they may not be able to. You can also get some sunglasses if you have like a kids worship where there's lights and strobes or anything like that. The dollar store sunglasses can really help with that. Timers are really important to help them through that. One of the best timers you can get is an app on the phone for either Android or Apple called Children's Countdown Timer. But you can also check out a lot of these at specialneedstoys.com. So now let's get into some of the other things. As one of the great philosophers, Elf, once said, "Don't tell me what you can't do, tell me what you can do." So everybody's big concern is how do we recruit volunteers? So let's jump into that now for a minute. In order to recruit volunteers, we must have vision and a passion and action. So we share the vision and stories of how this ministry impacts families and volunteer to get volunteers and leaders to join you. We want to make it personal. We need to do shoulder tapping because bulletins just don't work. And at the same time, we have to be passionate when sharing about volunteer opportunities. We cannot be Eeyore. Hi, come serve in our disability ministry. It'll be so much fun. No, we got to let them know that it is going to be fun and that they can make a difference. You also want to build a leadership team. At first, it may only be 2 to 3 people, but then as this team will help share the vision and passion and help determine the ministry strategies and promote the ministry vision as you go. Next important thing is pray, pray, pray. Pick a time every day for your entire team to get together and pray. You pray individually, but we all pray in unison. My team, we picked 5:10 every afternoon because usually nobody's doing anything then, hopefully on our way home. You pray for your ministry, you pray for your volunteers, you pray for your families. Pick huge God-sized goals and pray for that and pray through those to allow God to answer those prayers and then share that. You also want to recruit your youth ministry. They can be your best and most faithful volunteers that you ever have. Offer community service hours to them. Partner with your local universities as well. Students pursuing degrees in special education, early childhood education, or family ministry all need experience, so they'd love to partner with you. Now let's take a minute and talk about the 4 most important letters in the alphabet when it comes to volunteer recruitment. And that is the letters I-C-N-U. I-C-N-U. Now, your job as a a director, a coordinator, is every weekend, not just putting out all the fires, but your job is also to be observing everybody. And most churches I know have an 80-20 rule. 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people in the church. Well, what that tells me is 80% of the people that attend your church are nothing more than glorified knickknacks sitting in the chairs, coming to the service, and then going home, collecting dust on them. That's all they do. We've got to change that. You need to observe every parent that comes into your ministry and be watching for traits that you're interested in. And here's how it works. I would walk up to a parent and I'd put my hand on their shoulder and say, "Hey, Tom, do you have just a minute? You know what? I need to just let you know I've kind of been observing you the last few weeks, and I see in you someone who has an amazing heart for people. I see in you someone who is patient, and I've got a simple question for you. Can you be a friend?" Well, I've never had anyone tell me no. And I usually then immediately say, "Fantastic," because that's the only requirement we have for you to serve in a brand new ministry we have for our special needs individuals. You don't have to have any experience. You don't need to know what to do. We can train you on all that. Now, I've got a favor to ask of you. Would you please pray for the next 2 weeks and see if God would have you serve in our new special needs ministry? I've also never had anyone tell me, no, they won't pray. And then I say, let's meet together in 2 weeks and grab a cup of coffee and talk about it. When I meet back up in 2 weeks, I have a 90 to 95% success rate of them coming back and join our ministry. Why? I made it personal. I tapped on their shoulder. I told them how I saw in them things that would make them effective. I told them they already met the only requirement. They just need to be a friend. They don't need experience. And I never asked them to serve. I asked them to pray, and I let God do all my heavy lifting for me. That's the big important thing. And then they come in. Now, the other thing you need to do when you're observing are individuals with disabilities. They have an amazing innate sense to know if you like them or not, if you have a heart for individuals with disabilities. So if you've already got some kids with special needs or disabilities, watch who they go up to and interact. And those should be the first people you are contacting to be serving in your ministry. They will make a difference. So how else do you recruit? Well, you need to make sure you have ministry visibility. Have participants in the ministry area serve the church, increases the awareness. This is a perfect example of this young man. He handed out bulletins every week. 75% of the church walked in on his side of the church because they wanted to say hi to him and see his amazing smile. It brought awareness to us as a disability ministry and helped people see what was going on. Don't forget, though, to partner with your local high school groups and organizations like National Honor Society, leadership groups, sports teams. They need community service hours to grow, and look at it as an opportunity for outreach. I've had many volunteers come in and serve with us who've never been in a church before. To be a buddy, you don't need to have a statement of faith. You just need to be willing to serve. If over 18, pass the background check. And I've been able to now lead over 150 of our volunteers to Christ over the past 8 years because they had a heart for individuals with disabilities, didn't even realize it was a church. But then as they're working with them, they heard the gospel. And that's the power of outreach, thinking outside the box. All right, now you got the volunteer. Well, we have to train them. Training is vital, but we have to make sure they know you don't have to have any experience necessary. We need to give them techniques to be successful and not be fearful. Help people realize that they do not need the experience to serve. They just need to have a heart. And as I always say, can you be a friend? That's all it takes for it. I love using case-based scenarios for training. It allows volunteers to learn by working through real life scenarios. And this is one of my examples, and you can see some of our examples on our YouTube channel, Source Special Needs. But it's important for that. At the same time, we got to make sure we cover all of that. So who needs training? Really, Everybody does. Your security team, church greeters, information desk, anyone who comes in contact with first-time visitors, your children's ministry, your student ministry volunteers and leaders, and then obviously your special needs volunteers and buddies. Everybody needs the training so they know how to work with them. So what is included in the training? Well, you must share the ministry vision and goals. You have to repeat that often. You need to go over the role of the buddy, what happens there, how to handle behaviors, go over crisis prevention techniques. Training has to be comprehensive. It has to be ongoing. And after the initial training, you really need to have at least a biannual, if not quarterly training for volunteers, because that prevents your vision leak for them. And I don't call my biannual or my quarterly training because they won't show up. Call it a buddy gathering where we make it a social time and maybe have dinner or snacks and play games. It's a time to grow community, and they're more apt to come to that. Next thing you want to do is make sure you're engaging and partnering with your church staff and other organizations. Engage your church leadership. When ministry leaders understand and support the vision of your program, it's more likely to thrive. When pastors see the value and become actively involved, it tends to flourish. So get your leadership on board. Promote it to the congregation and fellow staff members. Have a special needs Sunday where everyone can see it. Keep it in front of the people at all time. And you've got to constantly be that cheerleader, helping share wins with the staff and sharing how they can be more effective in everything that they're doing. And they're going to be relying on you for all of this. At the same time, you need to be able to partner with other organizations. For example, SOAR, we offer the SOAR Disability Ministry Network. Every month, the fourth Thursday of the month, completely free. It's virtual, where you can get on with us, talk with other ministry leaders from all over the world, completely free, and talk through ministry issues, whatever it might be, and we'll help you through that. And it's a great way to meet other people and realize you're not alone. You can also network with other organizations like Down Syndrome Guild and Autism Society, Easter Seals. All these organizations share the same families and want to help. The bottom line is we want to become an inclusive church. Basically, what that means is we all want all of our individuals with special needs to feel that they are valued and just as important as every other individual that comes into your church. We need to create a culture of acceptance to give disability visibility in the church events. Allow it to be seen from the stage or the pulpit. No one should ever age out of your special needs programming. If you only have it in elementary, you need to then plan to have it in student ministry and then something for adults. So everybody has always got something. And then finally, partner with your families. Make them part of your vision. Meet them where they're at. Create programs that meet their needs, not your dreams. Do what you want if you were the parent. And as you go through it, remember, every ministry is different. Do what's right for your church. You don't have to do everything. Do things that are sustainable for your church of your size and your resources and your ability. And you'll find what works the absolute best as you go through all that. And so here are a few resources that you can check out, some books and everything, some websites, again, sourcespecialneeds.org, Irresistible Church, Johnny and Friends, Key Ministry, but we would love to be able to help you out. Again, you can reach out to me, Doc Hunsley. Here's all my information. I would love to be able to assist you. Again, don't forget to do our contact us to get a consult where we can help you with everything. But my heart is to be able to help you and your ministry soar. Just start with the families you already have in your church and welcome them. It's a biblical mandate. Bottom line, that's all we need. Be a friend and welcome these families. That will make a huge difference and truly transform lives. Come soar with us. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.